What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We had a pretty choppy day in the markets, but we have a lot of important news to go over. We actually have a ton of news to go over today with bank stocks, with the stock market overall, with Zoom and GM. And GM actually has some pretty crazy news on a flying car, and their stock market their stock just exploded today. So make sure you guys stick around to the end of the video to hear all the news. And at the end of the video, we have a $26 million option for tomorrow. So if you guys aren't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe. Tom and I post brand new videos every single day. But Tom, what went on in the stock market today?
Yeah, CNBC reports that stocks rose slightly on Tuesday as interest rates continued their ascend amid increasing prospects for more coronavirus stimulus from lawmakers under the incoming Biden administration. A blue ripple is taking short-term effect on the stock markets, and bank stocks contributed to Tuesday's gains as we saw Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan continue to run up, just like we've been seeing them do over the past few weeks. And the benchmark 10-year note yield traded briefly at 1.187%, its highest level since March, and the 30-year bond rate climbed to 1.88%. And if we look at /ZN, we can see that on a daily level, this actually continued to go down early in the day. And then at the end of the day today, it did kind of reverse, and we did end up seeing some green out of this.
Gotcha. So normally what happens is when /ZN goes down, typically that's not the best sign for the market overall, because that means rates are rising or yields are rising, which isn't the best sign. So that's definitely a good observation. And I feel like the market's kind of choppy right now. Like, what do you think? Like, I know that we had a couple dips during the day for like the past couple days, but it seems like every dip just gets bought up. So like, what are your thoughts on the market overall? It looks like we bounced off this, what is this 377 level on the SPY a couple times. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good support right now. You can see it's really hit that over the past 4 or 5 days, actually, pretty much going into last week even. It's hit off of those levels. I just really like that support. And like you said, every time it tries to dip down, it just gets bought right back up, right around that 377 mark. So I would honestly look for that tomorrow. The markets aren't looking too good, but the way that ZN popped at the end of the day could show that possibly the rates could be slowing down, and then we could actually see a rise out of the markets again. And I would think that with the bank stocks like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan really going up, and whenever you look at the daily charts on these bank stocks, it's just astounding at how much they're recovering right now. I would think that the overall markets would follow with that, but there's just a lot of other negative stuff affecting the overall market.
Yep, it was bound to happen with these bank stocks. So they popped a lot today. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was basically just because of the rates. All that news with the rates has really helped these bank stocks go up. And I think that really it was just a transition over the past few months. But now we can see that Goldman Sachs is like starting to break highs, and Bank of America is just getting back to highs. And JP Morgan is also at a new high. So I think that these rates are really helping some of these bank stocks at least get past their old levels and hit new highs.
Gotcha. Yeah. So rates and then the rotation overall, and they have earnings this week. So they have a little bit of that pre-earnings momentum. So I'm excited to see how these do for the rest of this week. But Tom, what's going on with General Motors? Their stock is exploding, and I heard some news of a flying car.
Yeah, flying car. This is insane. Their stock is up around 6%, and it was up to around $49 earlier today. And I actually have a picture here. This is just a concept picture, but this is pretty much part of their Cadillac division. And this is where GM plans to introduce this vehicle. The van is called the EV600 over here on the right. But on the left, this is actually the flying vehicle that GM is kind of concepting right now. And this is going to be a really cool thing if this does actually play out and come to fruition. I think that this would give Tesla a real run for its money. And honestly, this could shake up the whole EV sector if flying cars start to come out. I think that could possibly really hurt the EV sector, and especially take away that hype.
Yeah, so I think we still have a couple years at least before.
Oh yeah, it's a long way out.
Flying car, yeah. So I think we definitely have some time. So what's happening with this vehicle to the right? So that's their electric van, right?
Yeah, that's going to be their electric van. And this is just a concept picture, But the thing is that they're going to be developing this van for consumers, and it's going to have like self-driving capabilities. And you can see here in the picture, it looks pretty fancy. Like it has white seats, and it almost looks like that these seats would be seats that would kind of like flip around, or you could like move it back so like you can kick your feet up and stuff like that, like while the car drives you.
Nice. Well, it's cool to see that. And then what's going on with Zoom, ZM?
Yeah, this is actually kind of strange. I didn't expect this type of news to bring Zoom up, but CNBC reports that they plan a $1.5 billion share sale at 10 times their IPO price. And Zoom said on Tuesday that it will sell around 4.4 million shares in a secondary offering to raise $1.5 billion. And the company said that some of these proceeds could be used for acquisitions or strategic investments. And obviously, that's good for Zoom. Too bad they didn't do this whenever Zoom was at 550 or almost close to $600, but you can see that it's still a very significant rise from their IPO price.
Gotcha. I really like Zoom for the long term, so I'm excited to see how that affects their company. But let's get right into our member of the day. Today's member of the day is Elvis. Huge shout out to Elvis for being a great member of the Discord and sparking great conversation. So thank you, Elvis. And let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. The first one we are looking at is FUBO. So this stock has a lot of hype around it. What's going on there?
Yeah, go ahead and make them pop above $37 to the upside. And yeah, this has had a lot of hype, especially over the past few weeks. You can see then how it started to really pull back. I would say over the past couple weeks, but you can see that it's pretty much had a big jackknife to the upside and then a big jackknife back down. And it looks like that they're starting to get some momentum back to the upside. And I would think that they would do pretty good since they're like a sports streaming service.
All right, and then we have Pinterest, Pins.
Yep, PINS. They're actually getting close to all-time highs. Make them break above 75.50 to the upside.
All right, and then we have XPEV.
Yep, XPEV. I believe this is another. Yep, this is a
EV stock.
yeah, EV stock. Yes, make them go ahead and pop above 54.75.
Sounds good. And then we have GPS.
GPS. Yeah, this was awesome. You actually sniped this today, Mike. Make them pop above 23.60.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, GPS is actually one of the hybrid plays from today. So, we could see in the stat modeling group, we actually had a call on GPS early this morning. The 22 strike call options that expire this week, picked them up for around 90 and then ended up selling at about 150. And we sold half at around, 116. So overall, that was a good play. If you guys want to get plays like this, you can click the Stocked Up Options Alerts link in the description down below. And of course, not every play is going to work. We did have a small loss on VXX today, which was between 15%. But yeah, not every play wins, but overall, it's nice to see that play with GPS. And then just to do a quick little recap, we are eyeing FUBO, PINS, XPEV, and GPS, all potentially to the upside tomorrow, only if they can break the levels Tom listed. So now let's get right into the $26 million option for the rest of this week. We are looking at the Facebook 265 strike call options that expire on February 19th. Now, there was about $26 million put into this play, and Facebook's only sitting at around 250 right now. I'm not a huge fan of this play. I'll tell you, I really think they're actually shorting this because this option's about $15 out of the money, and what's going on with these tech companies right now with Trump, it's not a good look. We saw Twitter fall, 10%? Yesterday, something like that, and they continued to fall today. So I just think there's a risk there if any news comes out regarding that. And it is kind of far out of the money too, about $15. And then on top of that, the option itself, I ran a probability test on it, only has about a 38% chance of expiring in the money. So overall, I'm not a huge fan of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I know me and you have been talking about Facebook over the past few days, thinking that it might go down, and it's been really breaking to the downside out of this long-term trend here, which I really think is also playing a factor into this. And I think that they would definitely be shorting this, but like you said, you never know what's going on. And Facebook is sitting at support right now around $250. So maybe we could bounce off of that and head back to the upside. But I really think that with what's going on right now, I think that Facebook and Twitter and those types of companies could get hit in the short term pretty hard. And I don't think that they've been hit very hard yet. They've pretty much only fallen from 260 to 250 right here.
For sure. And then with the first question from the previous episode, we have Chris saying, I just found your channel. Question, what are your thoughts on 2-week calls for QQQ? So I'm not a huge fan of it right now. I have a weird feeling about the market right now. I don't love it. If anything, I'm leaning slightly towards the downside. We have these drops in the market, but then it gets bought right back up. But the market's just very choppy right now, and I don't have the best feeling. And with QQQ, Tesla obviously just exploded last week, and I personally think that they are going to pull back a little bit. And when they do that, obviously that will have an impact on QQQ. And even looking at these other tech stocks, like even Apple and like Facebook, like we just mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of calls right now. On the QQQ. It can work out, but just I personally don't think it's worth the risk. With the next question, we have Trent saying, I've been riding the fuel cell train for a while now and wanted to know your thoughts. The technology they are bringing to the EV sector is really interesting, and I feel like they will continue to grow exponentially as EV stocks keep flying. Thanks for the daily videos that really help stay on top of the market. So thank you for that question. So FCEL is exploding. I've heard a lot of great things about their technology, but I don't know. I mean, just seeing how it went from $2 to $20 for the short term, I'm not a huge fan, but for the long term, it's definitely something to look at. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, they actually did reverse split in the past, which does worry me, but they could always come back. And I think with the current movement, as long as they keep the hype up and they can somehow hold these levels, like for example, if FCEL starts to pull back over the next few weeks or few months and they start to pull back down towards $10, but then they start to fall back below 10, I think I'd be more worried about them than in the long term. But if they can kind of hold these levels, I think that we're pretty good. But really, this stock has just exploded the past few days. So good question on it. But I just like you said, I don't see it continuing too much. It obviously has exploded, but I don't see it, pulling like an NIO or something like that and flying up to $70 or $50 or anything. And
Right.
at least within the next couple days.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of it, like especially with these EV stocks, they are just crazy, especially when they have good momentum. Like so much of what happens with these EV stocks is driven by catalysts. So it's just something you have to judge day by day. And like everything's changing so rapidly, just in the market overall, but especially in the EV sector. So I think we just have to take it day by day. With the next question, we have Sandy saying, what are your thoughts on SGBX? I've made 33% already, and I think I'm going to get more. The company has a cool concept. Thanks, guys. So let's take a look. All right, so we have SGBX. I don't know, Tom. I don't really like setups like this. I have not researched them fundamentally, but looking at a max weekly chart, it looks like all they do is fall until recently. I'm not a huge fan of this company, but then again, I did not fundamentally analyze them. I am just looking at this on a technical level. So, what are you seeing?
Yeah, they also had a reverse split in the past, and this is it's similar to FCEL, but I don't see it having quite as good a movement as that stock. I do like it though. It's had good movement over the past few days, so you might be able to day trade it and catch like something to the upside over the next couple of days. But I personally would not hold this for the long term, and I definitely wouldn't think it's safe by any means either.
Yeah, I see that they had a reverse split 1 for 20. So that's usually not a good sign. So
Yeah, that's worse than you. Normally they're like 1 to 5, 1 to 10, but 1 to 20 is pretty large.
yeah, and then at the end of the day, it's a reverse split too. So with the next question, we have Alfred saying, talking about NNDM. So let's take a look. This stock's running too. Wow, 50 cents all the way up to about $10. Let's take a look at their weekly. It actually looks very similar to the stock we just looked at. I have pretty much the same thoughts. It went from about 100 all the way down to 50 cents. Now it's back up to $10. It's just not a play for me. It can do well, but it's just not a play for me. I just would never invest in something like this.
Yeah, and I think if you guys are playing this, I think it should just be played for like quick swings or quick like in and out day trades. I don't think that putting a lot of money into these is just don't think it's safe by any means.
Yeah, me either. And then with the next question, we have Luthra saying suggestions on CRM stock over the next few weeks or for the long term. Should I sell it or keep the ones I have? So always trust your gut. But when I look at CRM, with CRM, keep in mind that they're in the process of acquiring Slack, which is ticker symbol WORK. Normally, what happens with situations like this is the company that is buying the other company. So, for example, CRM or Salesforce is buying Slack, which is ticker symbol WORK. In this scenario, normally what happens is CRM would fall in the short term, but once they acquire the other company and then they get going, and then over the long term, the company would rise. So normally with mergers and acquisitions, the company that's buying the other company normally falls. So it's expensive to acquire a tech company like WORK. So my thoughts for the long term, I really like them. Always trust your own gut. If I were you, I would just hold on to the shares, but that's only if you like it for the long term. I mean, you kind of just have to expect things like this, in my opinion. If we look at like the past, let's say we look at the past year, they went from about 115 all the way up to 284, and they're still at around what 215 right now. And they acquired a new tech, or they acquired another tech company. Overall, I like the setup. They have good earnings. I like it for the long term.
Yeah, if anything, you could just keep averaging in as it keeps going down and make your share price lower if you like them for the long term too.
Yep, that's a good point. And even like cash secured puts and things like that. So, with that being said, Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or any insight for the market for tomorrow?
I'm really going to throw some insight here onto one stock that I've seen that's really taken a pretty good beating over the past few months. And I don't think that the stock is that bad, especially compared to other stocks, kind of like Boeing and other airline stocks, is Lockheed Martin. They have a lot of military contracts and they develop some pretty cool jets and stuff like that, like the F-22s, and they're pretty good jets, and they develop a whole array of different technologies and stuff like that. So I think that Lockheed Martin could be a pretty good stock for the long term. It's bouncing off the 1,000 SMA here, and the last time it did that was during the COVID crisis, back whenever they were at lows here around 280. You can pick them up for around $340 to $345 over the next couple days, and they have highs of $442. So I think that for the long term, this is a really good safe stock. And if I go onto the max weekly, you can see how much growth it's had on this weekly chart. And I really think that they could continue this growth as long as the airline industry and stuff can kind of pick back up. But just like I said, their main income is their military contracts and stuff like that. And if it's not for the United States, they might have contracts with other countries as well.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing that. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys aren't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe. Tom and I post brand new videos every single day. And if you guys want to trade the same options as Tom and I, you can click the Stocked Up Options Alerts link in the description down below. And if you have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thanks for watching.